Welcome to the joint podcast with the Victors Nation and Inside the Nest. I am your host, Jason Robinson. Both pods are brought to you by Big Banter Sports. Make sure you follow them on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and visit us at bigbantersports.com to get your sports news involving Big Ten football. Joining me is Derek McCarty, and from the Iowa pod is Connor Berry. Welcome, guys. Wolverines and Hawkeyes. Third time both of these teams are have been in the Big Ten championship, and we have a rematch between the two from 2021. Michigan seeking its third straight conference championship, and Iowa looking for its first. So, Connor, I want to start with you on this. Again, welcome, man. Appreciate you joining us. From an X's and O's standpoint, when Michigan is on offense and Iowa is on defense, what do you foresee? What do you see being the outcome of that? Any key matchups? What do you see?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks a lot for having me on, man. I appreciate it. To answer your question, though, there's a couple of key matchups that come to mind when I first think about this game. What the first one though comes to mind that is JJ McCarthy, just versus our secondary. I remember being there at the Big Ten championship in 2021. When Cade was actually the quarterback, and they brought in JJ just a few times, and he was just torching us with his legs and just with some darts out there. I'd say him just against our secondary as a whole, considering we don't have Cooper DeJean. I think that you guys are going to likely pick on our corners. But again, I mean, we all know that Blake Corum is that guy. I mean, we all know that he's just like a touchdown machine. I think that where we're going to have to really set the tone is up in the trenches up front. That starts with guys like Yahweh Black, Logan Lee. Those guys are two pretty experienced guys. So I feel pretty solid that we have them there. And then we have Jay Higgins, who I think led the Big Ten. So I think that's going to have to be a key matchup, is stopping the run up the middle between our two big guys, our best linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, Jay Higgins. First team. I think Big Ten defense, like 141 tackles on the year as well too. I mean, so he's an absolute stud for you on defense. And then Gino, you guys, so Cooper, who you lost as well too. I mean, hell of a special teams player as well. But defensively, I mean, you guys lost a key player in that guy too. But Jay Higgins is an absolute beast. Absolute beast.
We have a lot of experience considering some of the injuries we've had. With DeJean being out, we have a guy named Deshaun Lee. I think he's a true sophomore. So I think that you guys are going to pick on him a lot with Roman Wilson. So I think that that's going to be, I don't want to say a key matchup for us. I think it's going to be a very important one, though, one that we have to focus and have help on the back end with. So definitely nervous. It's a lot of things we got to stop at once.
Yeah, your defense is still it's up there, right? I think one of the best in the country if we're looking on paper right now as well too, especially top 4 in points allowed. Michigan being number 1 in that category in the country right now, but Iowa being 4th. The most points you ever gave up, I think, was like against Penn State, 31 points. Other than that, your defense keeps you guys in games. Just that your offense the last few years, and I mean, kind of for a while, really just hasn't clicked into place. But not saying that there's not talent there, but I guess we'll just see what happens. But Zach Zenter being out, that kind of hurts us a little bit too. Probably the best guy on that offensive line, but we're very, very deep at that position with 7 or 8 other guys as well too. Derek, what are your thoughts as looking just at that X's and O's strategic standpoint? Michigan on offense, Iowa on defense. What are you looking for? What do you think we're going to see in this specific matchup?
Yeah, so Iowa's been for a long time. I'm a defensive guy when it comes to football, so I appreciate good defense. Mm-hmm. And I've always liked watching teams like Iowa, a lot of Wisconsin teams play defense, because if you look at Iowa's defense, it's not like there's a ton of 5 stars on the roster, right? It's built with a bunch of people that get developed, and they're very, very assignment disciplined, and you can tell that they must buy in at a high capacity to film study, because that's a great example of be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, do your job when you get there. And that's what makes them a dangerous football team against anybody that they play, is defense typically travels. Defense typically shows up. And that's why I kind of feel like this matchup is almost like it shouldn't be, but it almost has a trap game type feel coming off of the emotional win against Ohio State, and kind of the expectation that's been set out there that if you saw some of the betting lines, that Michigan's just going to run out, just going to destroy them. No one's really given Iowa a chance, and I think that that's dangerous. But defensively, Iowa's going to show up. It's going to be tough on Michigan to do what they want to do. Like you talked about, losing Zach Sinter, who I feel is the best interior offensive lineman in college football right now. That's a big blow. What we saw last week against Ohio State, though, was Carson Barnhart kicked down inside to guard. Carson Barnhart has a lot of starting experience, and Trenty Jones came in and to right tackle, and their offensive line didn't really seem to miss much of a beat. So I think we're going to see on display the depth of the offensive line. So I think that it is impactful, but I don't think it's really going to impact the flow of the game that significantly. I think their offensive line is going to continue to be good. I think you're going to see you're going to see an identity that we saw against Penn State and against Ohio State, that even though you're talking about JJ's ability, he'll throw when he needs to. But these last few weeks, we've gotten Corum especially going. Donovan Edwards has had some tough runs where earlier in the season those runs weren't showing up. Now they've started to show up. So I think it's going to be an old school Big Ten matchup, our offense against their defense. And I think it's going to be fun to watch. And if it becomes a blowout, it's not going to be like a blowout at halftime. It's going to be one of those games where there's fewer possessions, and just slowly it's 7-0, 10-0, 13-0, 20-0, 27-0, 27-3. I think it's going to be like one of those games where the final score doesn't indicate how
3 in there.
Right, exactly. Off of an interception or something, you know.
I appreciate it.
But I think it's going to be one of those games where it's going to feel a lot closer throughout the course of the game, because Iowa's defense is going to make it so hard for Michigan to get what they want to get.
And I mean, we got Jim back. I mean, if you look at some of those games besides the Rutgers game, when Jim is there, I mean, it definitely adds more of that feel to this offense for sure. We're putting up 40-some, 50-some points, and we haven't had that really, let alone, the last 3 games of regulation have been pretty challenging for Michigan, but we didn't have our head coach on the sideline. So you do see a difference right there. And we weren't missing a beat when he was back after those first 3 games of being suspended. So the first suspension. So I really do think a big score is going to happen here. But Derek, I do agree with you 110% that I think it's going to be slow starting at first. Iowa's got a really good defense, and Michigan does respect their opponents as well too. I mean, we've been there for years and years and years. And as far as that underdog mentality goes, I'm not really too worried about that. This is our 3rd straight year in the Big Ten championship game. Played Ohio State prior to that. You know, if Iowa wants to have that underdog mentality, that's going to be fine. I just don't think they're going to really be able to play that card too well when we play like that all year. Every year Michigan has doubters. Every year we have distractions, right? So we've been a top team the last 3 seasons and have better records the years prior than that as well too. But really the last 3 seasons, Michigan's kicked it into gear. But if we're talking Iowa's going to be the underdog here, like, on paper maybe, but like this football team plays with that underdog mentality. So I don't really think Iowa's going to have an edge there, especially for our offense. So we're not really overlooking anybody. Really never have. So
Yeah, no, I never get that. I never get that kind of impression from a Michigan team. I mean, they're well coached. Obviously, when you see a guy like Moore already up in the, I mean, he's I forget what the award's called, but the assistant coach of the year. I mean, just all around, they're well coached. They're gonna wear and tear. They're gonna wear you out, and it just doesn't seem like that's changed, like you were saying, over the last couple of years. When Harbaugh first came around, I remember we won in Kinnick over like a top-ranked Michigan team. But even from now to then, I mean, it just feels a lot different. They feel more disciplined. There's better quarterback play, obviously. I think like Wilton Speight was the quarterback, which I'm not hating on him, but JJ McCarthy just feels
different
night and day different.
Yeah.
I would
agree.
Sherrod Moore, man, like he's probably got more ranked or quality wins than some second-year full-time head coaches.
You're not
right
wrong.
Now in the 4 games that he's coached, so it's crazy.
Yeah.
He had more ranked wins than Iowa did this year, so that's all you need to know.
We're still respecting Iowa here, and you never know what's going to happen. It's any given Saturday, in this case, Saturday night, and it's a big game. I mean, since they've realigned, got rid of legends and leaders, went to East and West divisions. A West division opponent has never won a conference championship before. So, and that's been going on, I think, since like 2013 when they actually went to East and West divisions. But we'll see. Anything could happen. Still respect the opponent. Iowa's got a hell of a defense, and we better respect them coming into this game for sure. And I know we will. As far as like flipping things around, like what do you guys see as far as Iowa's offense goes versus Michigan's defense? And Derek, I want to start with you on this one.
So Michigan's defense, I think, has been, and being able to maintain it and prove it last week, the top defense in college football. They're so deep. I think if it was another opponent, and this is no disrespect to Iowa, I think that it would be a key factor whether Will Johnson plays this week or not. Will Johnson, Michigan's all-conference corner, got a little dinged up in the second half of the game and didn't finish the game against Ohio State. And I would say that could be a key factor. I don't know that anyone in the world right now has enough trust in the Iowa passing offense to be able to take advantage of a key defensive back being down. But like it's been all season, I think it's going to be on our D-line. Our D-line is a no-star, all-star D-line. Our edge rushers, we have 4 of them that rotate and average like 28 snaps a game. Our interior defensive line, we have like 5 of them that rotate, and it still average. There was only like 2 defensive linemen. They showed the stat during the Ohio State game that were averaging 30 snaps a game on the season, and that's crazy because they don't really miss a beat the way that they keep them fresh, and they haven't generated a ton of sacks like what we got used to seeing out of like the Michigan defensive ends the last handful of years with Chase Winovich and with Hutch and with Ojabo and even last year with Mike Morris a little bit. But what they do quite a bit is what you've seen at the end of the game that caused an interception is they basically reestablish the line of scrimmage. They reestablish where the pocket is for the quarterback. They get a lot of hits on the arms, or they make quarterbacks really uncomfortable and force a lot of errant throws. And I think that's going to be a big factor in the game, is that I think especially our interior defensive line is going to really take control of taking away the run game and the pass game. That's the way it's been all season, so it's not much different than what Michigan's defense has been doing. But I do want to give a player to watch out for. Mikey Sanders still. That guy just seems to make big plays when big plays need to be made. This just seems like he didn't make a lot of like flashy plays. He made a huge hit. I don't know if you guys remember that huge hit right before halftime that probably helped lead to a missed field goal. Yeah. He's just, his football IQ was so high. And if you want somebody that might come into this game kind of pissed off on Michigan's defense, Mike Barrett. Because if there's somebody that I think got snubbed by the all-conference selections and not being recognized a little bit higher.
I saw that today. I'm like, you got to be joking me. Yeah, that guy's not on a third team.
Right. So you might get a kind of a mad linebacker coming in there, but I think the story is going to be what our defensive line basically establishes and takes away at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and I still think we're going to play tough. I don't know if Will Johnson will play or not. I can see him maybe suiting up and giving it a go on a couple of plays. That Mikey Sanders still first team as well too. Keon Sabb, more than capable, as well as stepping into that secondary and making plays. Josh Wallace as well too, and Johnson, and we definitely got some playmakers in the secondary. I know Derek at the beginning of the season we were somewhat worried about that position group, but that they've been more than surprisingly impressed this year in that position group. And linebackers too, we have a lot of talent as well there too that we rotate in and out. I was just surprised by this stat, Connor, but Iowa, their leading receiver is still Eric All. And he was hurt like week 7, middle of the season against Wisconsin. Not trying to bash it all because I mean, props to his dad for pulling for us for the sign gate stuff as well too. But that was a little shocking. I think you guys are going to try to run the ball, but if anything, Derek talked about it's our defensive front or edge rushers. Maybe you haven't got a lot of recognition from Ojabo and Hutchinson and all that stuff. But at the same time, a lot of teams have been throwing quick against us. I think Iowa's going to try to establish the run game. We'll see what happens there, but I think they're going to try to go quick in their throws, and they might take a couple of shots quick down deep as fast as possible. And that's my prediction. So Connor, what do you have to say about your offense? I know it's been kind of stressful the last few years watching, but what can you say about our offense? What do you expect to see versus Michigan's defense specifically?
Well, I mean, like you guys have said, Michigan's defense is no joke, and we quite literally it's the worst offense versus the best defense. It doesn't really get any worse for us as far as matchups go. But I do want to say that it does feel like our receiving game has stepped up a little bit. We had a transfer come in from Ohio State. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Caleb Brown, but the last couple of weeks, he's actually starting to throw up some yards, and that's not something I'm used to seeing from Iowa. It's been a lot of screen passes and a lot of quick passes, like you guys were saying, you would expect. That's exactly what's going to happen from us. Deacon Hill, whenever it comes to a deep ball, it's not on the money ever. I really couldn't tell you I've seen a completion from him downfield yet. So don't expect to see a lot of that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of trickeration. I mean, this is Brian Ferentz last.
Absolutely.
Last at it, so I think he might be trying to draw up a little bit, but Michigan's defense is they're always pretty stout. I don't think they're going to be caught up in a bad spot there with their pants down or anything like that. So, like you guys said, expect to run. We like to do a lot of zone runs. It hasn't worked out a whole lot considering our offensive line this year. It just isn't what I'm used to as far as Kirk Ferentz standards. It's a little bit on the lower end side of the Big Ten, so not going to be able to run a whole lot, especially on guys like Mason Graham. And, they're going to be tough to move it on up front. So I like to consider us tight end U. I think we're going to be doing a lot of quick outs to Addison Estrenga and a lot of screen passes to Caleb Brown. I think that's going to be the entirety of our offense.
That's where you guys were hurt too. Your 2 starting tight ends injured, Cade McNamara injured, and man, that still bothers me. I think it bothers some of our players too. When Cade's asked about, the only time you see your old team, the only time you and Eric all see Michigan is if you guys meet each other in the Big Ten championship. And he said, quote unquote, I hope that happens.
Right.
And I feel like that just drives us nuts. And it's unfortunate that him and Eric all, no disrespect to them, they did help this team a lot the last couple of years. But I'm kind of disappointed that we're not going to be playing against them this Saturday night too. So I was really hoping. I think this is the matchup that a lot of teams, or a lot of people, a lot of fans are projecting to see specifically in the Big Ten. So it's definitely exciting, but it's missing those two players too in this matchup. So that kind of sucks. But
You're not wrong at
it
all.
still drives me nuts. Still drives me nuts on what he said. I'm like, well, you got your wish, but now you're not playing.
Did you see what he said on the podcast this week about Michigan?
Yeah,
I don't know if it was
weird.
Yeah, he just needs to be quiet for a little bit. How about that? But
yeah,
I mean, hey, I give him props because that's the type of player he is. Like, even when he was with Michigan, he had that no death mentality, and he always had confidence, and that's what I loved about the guy too. But
I do appreciate that.
But yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I'm hoping, and as a football fan, I don't think it's going to go the way he thinks, and I think there's a small piece of him that knows that as well too.
Sure, I think the country's all pretty aware, but hey, man, like you were saying, any given Saturday or Sunday, whatever, but Saturday,
you might know some of our plays as well too, but you're going to have to stop them. So good luck.
Right.
That, and I'm sure that you guys are aware that he knows those plays, so I don't think it'll be those are going to be the first 4 plays you're running by any.
I mean, you had all season to look at them. You didn't have to know them at all. I'm sure every team changes them up, like either per game, per week, per season, but halfway through the season. But you still got to try to stop them, and the film is there, right? I mean, you have a season's worth of film.
And you know what? I don't think anybody in the world is going to be surprised if the first offense to play by Michigan is a run to Blake Corum.
Oh, yeah.
Up the middle.
He'll probably bust it for 20, and it's the stadium. So
yeah. And he had a hell of a run for right after Zach Zenter went down to. I don't know if you guys saw the Joe Glatt video of Zach Zenter going down and what our fans did, and man, did that provide a huge momentum boost. And Zach Zenter, he's definitely our brother here at the Victors Nation. So 6'5" baby. Well, this one's for you, and we appreciate you, dude. Just wanted to throw that out there, boys.
Yeah, he's the GOAT, man. You can't. There's nothing bad you can say about him. Obviously, you guys are tight with him, and like you said, that play that Blake had after was incredible for real. Right. So you can tell they all rallied around him.
Yeah, for sure. So Connor, I'm curious because I feel like defense and special teams has been the what got Iowa to the Big Ten championship game. So with Cooper DeJean being out, how big of an impact do you think that's going to have on the special team side of things?
So fortunately, we were able to see, I think, a week or two of that and how it went down. We had our backup returner. Don't expect much from him. He's going to be fair catching his ass off out there.
Real fair catches or fake fair catches?
Right, yeah. Well, he's even waving this one.
Okay.
But yeah,
I don't even want to talk about the Minnesota game. But
please don't. That one is a nightmare right there. But
I don't know. I don't even want to talk.
Yeah, so as far as that goes, it did make a huge impact. I don't think you'll see many returns. I mean, that was where like 90% of our touchdowns came from this year. So maybe once we try it, but yeah, I don't think we have much trust in him.
Yeah, I think I saw
a player too, and hopefully he gets healthy as well. Go ahead, Derek.
I think I saw a stat that Blake Corum has more touchdowns than Iowa does this year.
Oh, no doubt he does. I would not be surprised. That's clowning enough. He's a stud, though. No doubt.
So what do you guys, let's wrap it up here. So what are you guys thinking for score predictions? Connor, I'll start with you, buddy.
Sure, I'll go short and sweet here. I'm calling out a 27-3. And actually, I think Derek said that earlier, and I think that's where it's going to be. Not necessarily. I mean, it's a blowout, but not necessarily like the highest scoring. So,
okay.
Is that what you're thinking too, Derek, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm thinking 27-3, and it's going to be tough to get to that 27, and it's going to make the game look like it was a lot more out of hand than what it actually was. But I think it's going to be one of those boa constrictor type games where we just chip away and chip away and end up getting a couple scores ahead.
So I think I'm gonna go different here. And Derek, usually you and I are pretty on target, but we got Jim back. Got him back for a reason. That guy really boosts the momentum when he's back, especially for points. Like I said, we're putting up in the 40s, we're putting up in the 50s. So the last couple of years in the Big Ten championship, did 42-3 against Iowa, 43 to I think it was 16 against Purdue. So I'm going to go 44. I think Michigan puts up 44. The last 3 games, we just haven't been putting up the numbers offensively. And I get it. The last 3 games, Penn State, at Maryland, and then at home in Ann Arbor against Ohio State. Decent defenses as well too, but it's due time. It's due time we put back those points and get into a groove like we were in the middle of the season as well too. So I'm thinking 44 Michigan, and I'm thinking Iowa 13. And I'm thinking that, like Derek, you said, the running game's clicking right now, and I think we get some crazy big plays here for good yardage, and we score quick. So that's what I'm hoping to see, anyways, as a Michigan fan. But we'll see. If you guys are with your scores somewhat close, I know it's a few possessions off yet, but 27-3 or even shorter or closer gap, I still wouldn't be surprised. I know Iowa's always had a pretty good defense, and they got a pretty stellar defense as well this year, but I got to go with something different. I got to go with 44-3. 44-13. Sorry.
Hey, I'm here for it. I mean, I'm not really I'm not here for it, but I could definitely see that happening.
And yeah, you never know. So, but like I said, it's due time, and our head coach is back. So
yeah, that could be a difference maker, is Jim being back.
Yeah,
but
you're not wrong. Good timing for us there. Love that. But he's a stud. And you guys will be a different team with him again.
Tony Piatti, it's destiny, and I really want him to hand Jim that trophy.
Yeah.
I really, really want that to happen. I'm really looking forward to it. So
it is definitely out there. So best of luck to you fellas this weekend, and I want to say thank you very much for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, Connor, where can people find you guys? Like what outlets are you guys on?
We're on as far as social media, we're on Twitter and Instagram on the moment. Or at the moment, we're working on getting onto Facebook, but you can find us on Twitter at Inside the Nest 0. Inside the Nest is already taken. So, and on Instagram, we're Inside the Nest Pod. And as far as podcasting, we are on Spotify and YouTube at the moment.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, Connor, I appreciate you joining us and giving your insight on Iowa. And rematch, Big Ten Championship, Saturday night. Here we go, boys.
Right,
go Blue.
Thanks a lot, guys. Peace out.
Thank you.